Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the science of what makes an athlete truly, well, athletic. We're going to unpack what it takes to be explosive. We're not just talking theories, we're building a real, science-based blueprint. So, let's dive right in.
So think about it for a second. From the soccer pitch to the basketball court, the track, the gridiron, what's that one physical quality that truly separates the good athletes from the genuinely great ones? It's that secret sauce, you know? The thing behind a lightning-fast sprint, a jump that just seems to defy gravity, or a cut that leaves a defender in the dust. So what is it?
You guessed it, it's all about explosive power. And listen, this is way more than just being strong. It's about being able to unleash every ounce of that strength in the blink of an eye. It really is the engine that drives pretty much every dynamic, game-changing move in sports.
So, in this explainer, we're going to build out that blueprint for developing power, and we're going to do it like we're building a pyramid, starting with the absolute foundation and working our way, step by step, all the way up to peak performance.
Our quest starts with the why. Why is power so unbelievably critical for an athlete to succeed in the first place? Let's get into it. Every powerful building needs a rock-solid foundation, right? Well, for an athlete, that foundation is maximal strength. To put it as simply as possible, before you can even think about being fast, you have to get strong.
And look, this isn't just me talking, it's backed up by tons of research. I mean, take this classic 2004 study. What they found was a super clear, direct link for elite soccer players. The more they could squat, the faster they could sprint, and the higher they could jump. Strength is the raw material, the literal fuel for power.
But here's the catch. The relationship between getting stronger and getting more powerful isn't just a straight line. It actually follows what scientists call an S-curve. So when an athlete is just starting out in what's called the deficit phase, getting stronger doesn't really move the needle on power much. But then you hit the sweet spot, the association phase. This is where the magic happens. Every pound you add to your squat directly makes you more explosive. This is where we want to live. But eventually, if you get strong enough, you hit the transfer phase, where you start to see diminishing returns.
And check this out. Building that strength foundation does way more than just boost your performance. A massive review of studies in 2018 found that strength training can actually slash, and I mean slash, the risk of sports injuries by more than 2/3. A stronger athlete isn't just a better athlete, they're a more durable one. That's huge.
Okay, so we've got our engine, that solid foundation of strength. But you know, a huge V8 engine is totally useless if you can't rev it up fast. And that brings us to the next layer of our pyramid, the speed of force production.
This is where we get into something called rate of force development, or RFD. It sounds a little technical, but just think of it as your explosiveness factor. It's all about how quickly your nervous system can scream at your muscles to contract and generate force. In most sports, you have maybe a quarter of a second to make a move. That's it. So RFD is absolutely critical.
Let's make this super practical. Imagine two athletes. Athlete A is a beast, incredibly strong, but it takes him a while to build up to that force. Then you have athlete B. He's not quite as strong overall, but his RFD is through the roof. He's like a lightning bolt. So in that first quarter second of a movement, the only window of time that actually matters in a game, who produces more force? It's athlete B, every single time. In sports, speed kills, and that includes the speed of force production.
Okay, so we get it. We need to be strong and we need to be able to show that strength off fast. So the big question becomes, how do we actually train for that? What are the best tools for the job?
Well, the good news is the science gives us a pretty clear toolbox with 4 main methods. You've got your classic heavy hitters, traditional resistance training like squats. You've got ballistics, like jump squats, which are all about accelerating through the entire movement. Then there are plyometrics, which train your body's natural spring system. And of course, the highly technical and powerful Olympic lifts. Each one brings something unique to the table.
So how do you choose between them? Well, it really depends on your specific goal. For example, a 2022 study looked at weightlifting versus plyos, and what they found was pretty cool. Plyometrics were, no surprise, fantastic for improving an athlete's jump, but the weightlifting?
It was actually better for improving their ability to change direction and a whole bunch of other performance markers.
And now this is where things get really, really interesting. You might think you need all these fancy, complicated agility drills to get quicker on your feet. But look at this. A big analysis from 2020 found that basic strength training, using both free weights and even machines, had a large effect on improving an athlete's change of direction speed. The takeaway here is just so powerful. Just getting stronger is one of the best ways to become more agile.
Now, I want to be real with you. Science isn't always a perfectly straight line. There was a study back in 2017 that said Olympic lifting didn't really help with sprinting or jumping. But, and this is a huge but, context is everything. A later analysis pointed out that the athletes in that study were basically beginners, and they were only doing the full, super technical competition lifts. So any improvements they saw were likely just from getting better at the technique, not from actual muscular changes. It just goes to show a tool is only as good as how you use it.
And that leads us perfectly to the next level of our pyramid. Because having all the right tools isn't enough, not even close. You need the blueprint. You need to know how to use them, when to use them, and in what order.
You have to earn the right to progress. It's all about logical progression. First, you have to master the basic movement pattern, like a simple bodyweight squat. Once you own that, then you can add a little complexity. Maybe introduce a goblet squat. And only when that technique is absolutely dialed in do you start to add serious load, speed, or more technical demands like a heavy barbell back squat. Master the basics first.
All right, let's talk about one of the most important programming principles of all. And let's frame it with a simple question. To get faster at sprinting forward, should you just spend all of your time jumping straight up in the air?
You might think so, but the science tells a very different story. A major analysis from 2023 showed that training horizontally, doing things like broad jumps and hip thrusts, had a significant moderate effect on sprint speed. But training vertically, with things like vertical jumps and squats, the effect on getting faster was trivial, basically nothing. This is a concept called force vector specificity, and it is a game changer. Your body gets good in the direction you train it. To get faster going forward, you have to train to produce force going forward.
We've made it. We've climbed the pyramid and reached the very top. So let's see how all these pieces, the strength, the speed, the tools, the smart programming, all come together to deliver the ultimate payoff.
So what's the bottom line after all this? Well, a 2023 review really summed it up perfectly. The training programs that are the most successful, the ones that do the best job at developing strength and power, are the exact same ones that produce the biggest improvements in how fast an athlete can sprint on the field. The transfer is direct, it's clear, and it's powerful.
And that right there is the power payoff. It's a beautiful two-for-one deal. A smart, evidence-based program that's built on a foundation of strength and layered with speed doesn't just make you a more powerful athlete. It makes you a higher performing athlete and a more resilient athlete who stays in the game longer.
So, there you have it. We've laid out the science, we've given you the tools, we've handed you the blueprint for developing elite athletic power. The only question that's left is, what are you going to build with it?